as a whole, how they feel, how some of them look, things like that. After that, I'm going to talk about the overall stats, how stats are going to be useful. Again, I'm not going to talk about stat priority because I have no idea how that's going to turn out, but I will talk about how different stats affect different abilities, different playstyle for the spec here, and then kind of wrap it up with an overall summary of thoughts, hope for the future, and any kind of remaining comments there. So first thing is going to be the passives here. We have Circin Combo, Circin Storm, which again is a ability here, sprays a Circin at all targets within 10 yards, dealing X damage. Damage increased by 50% while Stealth or Shadow Dance is active. So this passive again increases the damage of your next Eviscerate by 5% for each enemy hit beyond the first, stacked up to 5 times. Now again, on a single target, that of course won't get you anything, but each time you hit a target beyond, you get 5%. That's nice. Shadow's Grasp, Backstab, and Shadow Strike reduce the enemy's movement speed by 30% for 8 seconds. Your auto attacks have a chance to generate 1 combo point and 8 energy. So again, the quicker your auto attacks are, the more energy and combo points you're going to be gaining here. Relentless Strikes, your finishing moves generate 6 energy per combo point spent. So for every combo point you spend, you gain energy. Executioner is the mastery here, increases the damage done by your finishing moves by X%, of course scaling with gear. Fleet-footed, your movement speed is increased by 50% and you take reduced falling damage. This is there for all rogue specs. Deepening Shadows, your finishing moves reduce the remaining cooldown on Shadow Dance by 1.5 seconds per combo point spent. And this, I think, is one of the kind of the core passives. The idea being the more combo points you're spending, the more you're reducing the cooldown on Shadow Dance. Shadow Dance is where a lot of your damage is going to be coming from, as you'll see from talents coming up. So yeah, this is going to be, I think, the core passive ability is you want to get those finishers going, get that cooldown reduced, and kind of get back into your dance. Now, Vanish allows you to vanish from sight, entering stealth. This can be useful as well for sub, because again, a lot of their damage comes out of stealth. Tricks still here. Symbols of Death, this was a recent ability that was removed from the GCD, so again, you'll see that that is not on the GCD. Again, 30-second cooldown, invoke Ancient Symbols of Power, generating 40 energy, and increasing your damage done by 50% for 10 seconds. So it gives you energy and increases your damage done for 10 seconds. Stealth is still here. Sprint, still here. Circin Toss, again, it's your ability to throw at an enemy to do damage. Again, it's just a range ability that rewards a combo point, allows you to build in between if you're going from target to target. Circin Storm, I already kind of read off. Again, it still awards 1 combo point per target hit. So again, you can kind of think about this with the passive. If you're hitting a bunch of targets, and I'll even kind of do it now, right? So I come over here, Circin Storm here, I get 4 combo points. Do it again, 4 combo points, huge eviscerate, right? Because again, I get that passive stacking up every time I use that ability. You can see here the stacks, eviscerate doing 25% increased damage, eviscerate, very, very nice. Shadow Concealment, same as before, requires Stealth. Shadow Strike. Now this is an ability that's only usable in Stealth. Right, so I go into Stealth, right here it is. It strikes a target dealing a bunch of physical damage. While Stealth, you strike through the shadows and appear behind your target up to 25 yards away, dealing 20% additional damage. So again, I can kind of show you that here. From Stealth, when you hit it, boom, you get ported there. So it kind of does the Shadow Step, but it does the damage right off of that anyway. Shadow Step, as I mentioned, that the shadows appear behind the target and gain increased movement speed. Shadow Dance, this is kind of one of the core abilities here. So let me move this to my bar here in a sense. So here it is, as you can see again, also off the GCD, which is quite nice. And again, it basically grants you access to your stealth abilities while not really being stealth. Again, it's not broken for taking damage or attacking, which is nice and required. And abilities, well, that's a talent. We'll talk about that later. Shadow Blades is your other main cooldown here. 3-minute cooldown draws upon surrounding shadows to empower your weapons, causing your combo point generating ability to generate 1 additional combo point and deal 0% additional damage at a shadow of 20 seconds. This feels good. I think one of the main things that I want to keep iterating on or talking about in the BfA is how cooldowns feel. I'm not a fan of cooldowns where you hit them and it just passively increases your numbers on your damage chart. I want it to feel something. I want it to feel the rotation change. I want to feel as if I'm empowered. And Shadow Blades does that. So again, I'm a big fan of this. Now this is on the GCD, as you can see. So again, you can't macro with other things. Sap, still here. Pickpocket, Picklock, of course, still there. Nightblade, this is a finishing move, costs 25 energy. It does shadow damage, dealing over time damage and reducing the effectiveness of healing on the target by 20%. Again, you can see the scaling. I currently have DS, which is why you can see 6 points there. It should also be noted that you deal 50% increased damage to enemies afflicted by your Nightblade. So again, keeping this up is important because again, you want to get that increased 15 damage to enemies. Kidney Shot, still there. Kick, Feint, of course, still here as well. Eviscerate, finishing move that disembowels the target, causing damage per combo point. Again, main finisher. Evasion, still here. Distract, Crimson Vow is baseline, 30-second cooldown. Cloak of Shadows, 2-minute cooldown, same thing as before. Cheap Shot requires stealth, stun the target for 4 seconds. Blind, and then Backstab. So Backstab is going to be your main builder outside of stealth. Stab the target, dealing X physical damage. Damage increased by 20% when you're behind the target. So again, you can add another fifth to that. So again, it does a little bit over 800 or so damage when from behind, which again, you should always be in these cases. Now, the important thing to note, again, is the difference in value between Backstab and Shadow Strike. So Shadow Strike is 30 energy. Backstab, again, is 35. Again, it says 26 because of a talent. I'll talk about that later. Again, 30 is also reduced as well. So again, it costs a bit more energy, but you get double combo points, and it does way more damage, right? It does more than double the damage. It also helps activate other talents, which you'll see here in a second as well. So again, being in Shadow Dance and being able to use Shadow Strike over Backstab is very important, especially because the key to sub seems to be getting off combo points. Your mastery increases your, getting off finishers, not combo points, which means building combo points, I guess. But what we're talking about here is getting to your finishers, using those finishers. The finishers do everything. Your finishers get increased damage from your mastery. Your finishers are what reduces the cooldown on Shadow Dance that allows you to get back into Shadow Dance quicker. So it's really a finisher-focused spec, more so than the other two, I would argue, where the majority of your damage is going to be coming out of those finishers, and your builders are just there to get you quickly. So the fact you get 2 combo points and you can get to those finishers quickly, faster than you would with, of course, 1, is very important. I do feel as if this spec is a bit energy starved. I'm constantly waiting on energy to come back, but when I'm in that Shadow Dance, it feels really good. And so the key is really going to be to keep the uptime on that as high as possible, which really means using your finishers. So this is the base set, right? This is kind of like your base set of abilities here. Again, you have Shadow Dance, you have Backstab, you have Eviscerate and Nightblade as your main kind of core things you're doing. Your main cooldown is going to be Shadow Blades. Again, you also have Symbols of Death as another ability there as well. And again, in Stealth and in Shadow Dance, you have Shadow Strike as your builder instead of Backstab. Now let's look at some talents. 15 row. Weapon Master, Shadow Strike, and Backstab have a 50% chance to hit the target twice each time they deal damage. That's nice. It does help you build combo points faster, because again, those extra hits do give you more combo points. But again, it's kind of just a nice passive, right? Shadow Strike, Backstab, you hit it twice. Okay. Find Weakness, your Shadow Strike and Cheap Shot reveal a flaw in the target's defenses, causing all attacks to bypass 40% of that enemy's armor for 10 seconds. Now, I'm not 100% sure on armor values, but again, it's always been about 30% armor for raid bosses-ish, 30, 31, something like that. So again, you're going to bypass 40% of that armor. So again, about 40% of that. So again, you're going to end up somewhere around like 16-ish% damage reduction from armor instead of the 30. So again, about 14% increase in your physical damage. And again, while you have some shadow damage, a good bit is physical. Again, backstabs, of course, physical. Eviscerate, of course, is physical. And the Shadow Strike as well is physical. Now, Gloomblade basically just replaces Backstab with an ability that does more damage and it's shadow damage. So it just ignores armor altogether. So now your builder completely ignores this, definitely does more damage than Backstab does, but again, still only awarding 1 combo point, still 35 energy. From my experiences in this row, from a number of different kind of combination of talents, I just found that Find Weakness ended up being the best. Again, I had decent uptime on it because again, every time you enter into Shadow Dance and start Shadow Striking, you get that increase. And as you'll see later on, a lot of the damage is really centered around damage in that window, damage in the Shadow Dance window. And so being able to do that much more damage in that window, most importantly I think I found was that the fact that Eviscerate is going to benefit from it. Gloomblade helps Backstab out, but Find Weakness helps everything out, right? Every single ability, for the most part, again, other than your Nightblade dot, is going to be benefiting from this. Your melee attacks, of course, get benefited from the armor reduction. Your Backstab, your Shadow Strike, all of those abilities, Eviscerate, are going to be helped. And again, because this damage is going to be centered around that window, around that Shadow Dance window, I do believe this is a very, very strong talent. Again, I could always be wrong, but this is how I feel. 30 row, Night Stalker. While Stealth or Shadow Dance is active, you move 2% faster, and your ability still 12% more damage. I will say, because Sub is so centered around Shadow Dance, and because they've included Shadow Dance in these talents, I really find that this row is actually interesting. Whereas in previous specs, it was one of those things where these type of talents were just passives. Right, they were just like, okay, do I want to kind of move faster in stealth? It really wasn't a big part of your damage. But because you do spend so much time in stealth or Shadow Dance, these actually matter. So again, this ability just gives you more damage while in stealth or Shadow Dance. Again, like I mentioned, Shadow Dance is a core part of the rotation, a core part of your damage. So getting more damage in that window sounds great. Subterfuge, your abilities requiring stealth can still be used for 3 seconds after stealth breaks. This also increases the duration of Shadow Dance by 1 second. The benefit here is the fact that it really allows you to use your Shadow Strike for longer. Because again, you can basically have another 3 seconds after the Shadow Dance window is up, which again is only 5 seconds. So it gives you 8 seconds basically of that window. Actually, you get another second as well. So it would be 9 seconds in that window where you can use that ability. So that's really nice. It gets you a lot more finishers because again, you can build quicker. You get 2 combo points instead of 1. I like the ability. Shadow Focus, abilities cost 25% less energy while Stealth or Shadow is active. Now, probably because I'm just a bad player, I found this talent to be best. I found that the ability to kind of not be worried about your energy cost in Shadow Dance allowed you to use more abilities in Shadow Dance. But I'll be completely honest with you, I think any of these 3 abilities could be amazing. I honestly don't know. There's a number of other synergies I'll talk about with these talents later on in the tree. But for me, I found myself to be very energy starved, and having that more energy, or not really more energy, but having the ability to have the abilities cost less energy in that window allowed me to get off more abilities in that window, which in turn increased my damage because of things like Find Weakness and other things that you'll see. 45 row is the same for all of them. Now, I will say, all rows that is, I will say that this was the spec that I found Marked for Death to be the most valuable for. In fact, I honestly believe it was the one that I would probably at this time take. So again, Marked for Death is the marks the target, instantly generating 5 combo points. Cooldown is reset if the target dies within 1 minute. Again, it should be stated that this ability here is off the GCD, which again is very nice. The key thing for sub, as I mentioned, is finishers. Getting basically a free finisher every 30 seconds is super strong. It should also be noted that it can be macroed or basically used along with Symbols of Death. They're both off the GCD, so they could be macroed to something if you'd wish that to be the case. You could basically macro them together with an Eviscerate, possibly. I probably wouldn't do that, but you get the idea, is that you can use this Symbols of Death at the same exact time, and then get a free Eviscerate or possibly Nightblade off every 30 seconds. Every 30 seconds, getting a finisher helps reduce the cooldown on Shadow Dance, and that or recharge on Shadow Dance, and really again helps you keep the uptime on that ability. So I liked Mark for Death. Now DS will be valuable because again 6 combo points mean not only are your combo point finishers doing more damage, because again your mastery is scaling that, but it also means that when you use a 6 combo point finisher, you're getting more time off. So instead of getting 30 seconds, you're getting 36. It also means, again, going back to our list of passives here, that again, not only are you doing more damage with that, you're getting more cooldown reduction based on that, but again, you're also getting more energy because of this. So again, a lot of possible synergy with DS. Vigor, as I mentioned, I have a feeling Vigor probably won't be taken for sub. Again, I can always be wrong, but I just felt as if even though I liked the energy regeneration and I like the increase in maximum energy, it doesn't synergize as well with what sub's all about, which is finishers. And so I have a feeling that with scaling, with mastering the future, with other things, with haste at better values, I have a feeling that Vigor might not be the best option. DS or Mark for Death would be what I would probably think would end up being better. Time will tell. 60 row really is just your choice of damage reduction. Soothing Darkness heals you for 30% of your maximum health every second while stealth or shot is active. That's nice passive. Faint reduces all damage you take by 30%. This, of course, can be very valuable, as we saw in Legion. Cheat Death, nice passive. Again, you're just not going to die. 75 row, Shot in the Dark. After entering Stealth or Shadow Dance, your next cheap shot is free. There might be some possible synergy with Find Weakness in some 5-man encounters. It should be noted, however, that again, this will only activate Find Weakness if the cheap shot stun goes out. So any target that is stun immune, like raid bosses, this will not synergize or work with. So again, a cheap shot would not actually give you a Find Weakness if you cannot stun the target. But anything you can stun the target on, Find Weakness will work for. Night Terrors, Shuriken Storm reduces enemy movement speed by 30% for 8 seconds, so it gets kind of an AoE snare, or slow really. Prey on the Weak, enemies disabled by your cheap shot or kidney shot take 10% increased damage from all sources for 6 seconds. I like this one a lot. Again, all of these are going to be your Mythic Plus, open world type talents, and the ability to increase all damage from all sources is, I think, very, very valuable, right? Again, this doesn't just help you, it helps the whole group. So everybody's doing more damage to that target. So again, you have a priority target, you cheap shot it, it stuns the target, and then you kill it quickly. And we know that in Mythic Plus, there are times when that's exactly what you need to do. You need to stun a target and kill it quickly, and this will help you do exactly that. 90 row, Dark Shadow. While Shadow Dance is active, all damage you deal is increased by 25%. Again, Night Stalker, when in Shadow Dance, you do 12% more damage. Dark Shadow, while Shadow Dance is active, you deal 25% more damage. These two might go together really well. Again, Find Weakness, again, is basically going to be increasing your damage in that window as well because of the reduction of armor based off Shadow Strike. Again, these things might work all really, really well together, right? Again, it will basically give you a super, super strong Shadow Dance. So if you can time all your cooldowns and pump all your damage, again, you can even add in Symbols of Death as well for another 15% damage. Again, you would always have the 50% from Nightblade up all time. Anyway, you get the idea. You have all these stacking damage percents in this window. Again, it would be a 5-second window here. Yeah, that can be very strong. Alacrity, your finishing move has a 20% chance per combo point to grant 3% haste for 8 seconds, stacking to 5 times. This works fine. I actually liked it currently. Again, I really believe, and it could just be the gear that I have, I don't have a lot of haste. Again, I have 50% haste. I think that's going to be a bit low. My energy regen is a bit low. I'm kind of starving for combo points. So, the more haste you have, the more auto attacks you get off, the more procs you get. So again, I think this has value early on. I have a feeling that this will not be as good when you actually can gear properly and kind of like tune your gear around your talents. I really think that Dark Shadows or Enveloping Shadows are going to be really, really good. So I have a feeling you're not going to actually keep this, but it might be good while leveling. It might be good at the beginning of expansion. Or again, maybe by taking this and not needing haste, you can get more crit, mastery, something else, and it actually would be better. Who knows? But those are my thoughts on that. Enveloping Shadows. So Deepening Shadows reduces the remaining cooldown of Shadow Dance by an additional 1 second per combo point. So instead of 1.5 seconds per combo point, it's now 2.5 seconds per combo point, which means a 5 combo point finisher there is going to be about 12.5 seconds or so. Again, 6 would be 15. And again, Shadow Dance gains 1 additional charge. So instead of having 2 charges of Shadow Dance, you will have 3 charges of Shadow Dance. Again, basically helping you keep the uptime of this by having just more charges. The nice thing about having the charges is you basically want to use them. You want to stay in Shadow Dance as much as possible, but the nice thing with the recharge is when you're doing the reduction of cooldown, it basically will reduce past it, and I'll show you that when I do my rotation later. But let's say you have 5 seconds remaining, you have 0 charges, right? You have 5 seconds remaining, and you use a cooldown and you gain 10 seconds. Well, none of that's wasted because you get a charge and it automatically reduces 5 seconds on the recharge for the next one. So having more charges really allows you to not waste any of that cooldown reduction you're getting from that passive. And again, this works just as well with that. 100 row. Now again, you'll see there's a coming soon. This was a coming soon until recently. So we have Master of Shadows. Gain 25 energy over 3 seconds when you enter stealth or activate Shadow Dance. Again, I found that because all the damage was coming out of Shadow Dance, and because Shuriken Storm is more of an AoE talent, that in general, this was a very valuable talent because it gives you the energy to get that damage out quickly in that window. Again, especially if you're taking the kind of Night Stalker, Dark Shadow, Find Weakness, it's all about your damage in that window. Having the extra energy in that window is also going to be very valuable. I have, again, no idea what this talent's going to be. I'm going to definitely revisit Sub, and I'll talk about that in my final summary here. I have a lot of thoughts about Sub. Circuit Tornado, 60 energy, 1 minute cooldown, focus momentarily, and then release a Circuit Storm every second for the next 4 seconds. So again, let me show you what this would be like. So you use the ability, and then you can keep doing your other stuff, but you just get those extra combo points from this every minute. So you hit the ability, so again, it waits a second, and then you get every second for 4 seconds combo points. Again, because Circuit Storm gives you a combo point per target hit, you'll just get those combo points. Now, as you can probably imagine, this is more focused on the AoE idea. It can still be bad for single targets. Again, it gives you free combo points, which is very, very nice. But again, you can see that Circuit Storm gear does a very good job of giving a bunch of combo points really quickly. So what it basically means is that you're going to be able to get a lot of combo points out in a row. And again, we should note that while Shadow Dance does more damage, so I might go ahead and, Shadow Dance, start getting some stacks up, get that. All right, let me use this, get into Shadow Dance again so it does more damage. It's basically just giving me all these combo points. You get the idea. So yeah, that can be very valuable. Again, Mythic Plus, things like that can be very valuable for, because anytime you're hitting more than one target, that's a very valuable ability. It can give you a bunch of combo points. Again, it also helps increase the damage of your Eviscerate, because again, this is basically just using this ability automatically, right, for free, basically. It costs more energy, but again, you get to use it every second for 4 seconds. Alright, I gotta wait for it to go off cooldown. So yeah, I do believe that something like this, again, I'm going to take Master of Shadows here once I'm allowed to, would be what I'm going to start off with. I found this to be what I could achieve the best damage with. Again, damage is not tuned, so I'm not too worried about end damage values. I'll definitely be revisiting this spec again in the future when it has that new talent, and maybe has more tuned damage. But I found in general that this spec had a lot of management. It had a lot of, plates to kind of spin, and the reward for it wasn't high. Like, you got reward for playing it great, but you got punished for not. Again, you mess up with your rotation, you let Nightblade drop off for too long, you don't get Shadow Dance up quickly enough, you'll find that, again, your damage, again, is going to suffer a bit. But again, it has a pretty decent and, I would argue, engaging rotation here. So again, I'm going to use my cooldown. I'm going to port. Again, getting right into that Shadow Dance right away. Right, using that to get my combo points. Getting back in the Shadow Dance again real quickly. Shadow Blading as much as I can, building off of that. Now, if you look at my damage meter right now, you'll see that it's super high. So again, the burst, the opener on this spec is very, very high. Again, as any time that Shadow Dance comes off, I'm getting right back into it. We'll find out if that's the right way to do it or not. But, again, because most of your damage is coming out of that window. Alright, so I got another finisher on me coming up. So let's go ahead and use that. But yeah, this is your basic sense. You're going to be building up, eviscerating, getting into Shadow Dance whenever possible, keeping up Nightblade as much as possible, and again, just trying to keep the dance going. Every 30 seconds, you can, of course, Symbol to Death. Now, in this right now, I have Symbol to Death macroed together with Bark for Death. Again, I have no idea if that's going to be the best way to do it or not. I just found because it's the two lined up together, and because I want to really empower my Eviscerate, I want to make sure that those two things did go together for me. Again, you can also see Find Weakness, again, as a debuff on that target. And so, yeah, as you can see, this is pretty decent damage. Again, it's pretty competitive with what I saw from the other two specs. But again, you're definitely working for it, which I like. I like working for my damage. I have no problem with a challenging rotation as long as that rotation is rewarding, right? As long as I feel as if I'm being rewarded for my efforts. So yeah, that is the sub-rogue rotation. Again, you can see on the left over here, all the abilities that I've hit and the order I hit, so you can kind of see how it worked out. By no means is that perfect, but let's take a look here at my damage meter. So as you can see, Eviscerate, huge portion of my overall damage, right? Again, average hits were high, got a couple crits, by far the majority of my damage. Melee comes next, followed by backstab. So you can see physical, physical, physical. So again, this is why I think Fight Weakness is going to be so valuable. You get a lot of value off of it because, again, your majority of your abilities, majority of your damage is going to be physical. Now again, you can take Gloom Blade to replace this with the shadow damage, but you still have these two. And because the Eviscerate is always going to be so large, I just think there's better synergy with Fight Weakness. Nightblade is the dot. Again, I will say that it's probably more valuable for the damage increase than it is for the dot itself, but it's there. Shadow Strike, again, hitting pretty decent. Shadow Blades, again, as well, doing decent damage. Again, Shadow Blades causes 75% additional damage as Shadow for 20 seconds whenever you generate combo points. So that's why the damage gets associated with the Shadow Blades. Now looking at our auras here, Symbol of Death, again, you can see the uptime here. Shadow Dance, 20% uptime. I think this is going to be a big thing to look for in logs, is the good sub-rogues are going to have good uptime on Shadow Dance. Because again, you get so much damage out of that window, that's going to be very important. Find Weakness, as you can see here, 70% uptime. Now again, that would probably go down as I move further into the rotation. Again, it's going to come back up when I get Shadow Blades, because I'm going to be able to get more finishers off to reduce the cooldown on Shadow Dance. But that's pretty good, right? 70% uptime on a ability to basically get 14% increased damage on your physical abilities-ish, I think is a very, very good uptime. Nightblade, 84%. That should be better. Again, you'd ideally want to keep this at about 100, 90%, 99%, something like that. So again, that's a place where I could, of course, improve. We're not worried about Mark for Death. Shadow Graph, not worried about that too much either. Now, one other thing that I didn't do that you probably should be doing is using Vanish to actually give you more stealth time. So again, Vanish would be something that would increase your stealth a bit more. It would allow you to get probably another Shadow Strike out. So again, that is something you probably should be doing that I was not doing. So again, there's probably a little bit more min-max that could come out of using Vanish to, again, get yourself another Shadow Strike. Now again, it might be more valuable with something like Night Stalker, because again, then you could get like a finisher off in Vanish, right? You're getting an empowered, you could use both, you could use Night Stalker to basically give yourself empowered Eviscerate, which might maybe be better. I don't know. It also, of course, reduces the energy cost even with Shadow Focus when you're in stealth. So again, giving yourself more energy on the next ability could be valuable. So yeah, there is the Sub Rogue. Talking now about stats. So crit is crit. Again, crit's just going to be giving you more crit damage. I didn't notice any real synergy with the crit as far as, it giving you extra things or such. Haste definitely has some synergy. Not only does haste, of course, increase energy regeneration, but more importantly is you're going to get more procs, again, of your Shadow's techniques, again, based off your auto attacks. Now, it should be mentioned that we might just want really fast daggers. It might be that you just want like 1.4 second daggers that might end up being more DPS because, again, you'll get more of these procs off. There's probably a proc per minute or RPPM, something like that. We'll have to find out. But it could be possible that, again, just using faster weapons could help with this, but haste obviously is going to help as well. Give yourself more combo points, give yourself more energy, which is always a wanted thing. Verse increases all your damage and healing. One thing I want to mention is that with the stat squish and with the different scaling, I've heard some rumors that some specs are scaling better with Verse than they had in the past. So Verse was a stat that for a lot of specs wasn't very valuable because of how it's scaled, right? How much versatility you would need for 1% was a lot. And so trying to stack versatility was not as beneficial as stacking haste or crit or mastery. Because of the stat squish and because of the way that secondary stats are going to be distributed, which again you can watch my video on that, talking about secondary stats and the changes, versatility might become a better stat for all specs. Whether or not, again, it's when you're worth gearing for, a whole different situation. Mastery, again, of course, is going to be giving you damage on finishing moves. As you can see, that is a direct synergy because, again, the most damage you're doing is off of Eviscerate. Eviscerate does the most damage, and so increasing the damage of Eviscerate through Mastery, of course, is going to be very, very valuable. So those are stats. Overall thoughts. I like Sub. I'm not going to lie. I think that Sub, even in its base, as you can see here, I only took one active ability. Again, there's the only other active ability you could possibly take, again, would be Shuriken Tornado in this sense. All the other ones, again, are just things that are basically passive. Gloom Blade is an ability, but it replaces backsteps. You're not gaining anything, really. So I would like it if this coming soon was another active ability, because I would like the possibility of maybe changing up rotation a bit here. Something else nice in the coming soon would maybe be something that would help with evening out that Shadow Dance uptime a bit. So something that, again, could help you either regen energy or give you combo points or something like that might be very valuable. It does seem, however, that this row, for a lot of rows, have been AoE focused, so maybe it'll just be another AoE type thing. We'll have to wait and see. But I do like Sub. I like that even in its base set, so even without Marked for Death, there's a lot going on, right? It feels active, it feels engaged. I love the fact that they took Symbols of Death, Shadow Dance, and Mark of Death are all off of the GCD. I never played it when that was on, but I can now see how that would be really annoying to have those abilities on the GCD because, again, you're wanting to Symbols of Death in that dance window very often, and you don't want to use up that dance window time because, again, it's only 5 seconds, possibly 6 with Subterfuge. You don't want to waste any of that time with a GCD. Right, with the Shadow, some of the Dash GD. So the fact that your damaging increased abilities are outside. Now again, I would probably always Shadow Blade outside of dance to make sure, again, that you're not wasting any of the time in the dance. But yeah, I really like the way that it feels. It feels very engaging. It took me a while to kind of pick up on it. That's for sure. Like I mentioned, I will come back and probably do a follow-up video on this spec whenever the coming soon talent is entered in. And again, hopefully they'll do some more balancing and such later on. I can come back and talk about maybe what talents are going to be better with more certainty than I have right now. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of choice as well. Again, in the top tier, I think Fine Wind is going to be the best, but I can see the other two being valuable. The third row, I have no idea. Any one of these could be fun and engaging and valuable. 45 row, again, definitely some choice here. DS could be very valuable. I like Mark for Death as well. Who knows, maybe Vigor. 60 row, again, is, of course, any choice you want. 75 row, any choice you want. 90 row, again, I have a feeling that these other two talents will end up being the ones we end up taking, just because I have a feeling that once you get more haste on your gear, or could gear for haste with dungeons and such like that, you'll find that this passive haste isn't as valuable anymore. And again, these other two talents just seem really cool, right? Increasing all your damage in Shadow Dance, or getting an extra charge to give yourself more time in Shadow Dance, and increasing the reduction. So again, you're getting back into the dances a lot quicker. Enveloping Shadows could be very, very valuable. 100 row, again, we don't know about this. Shuriken Tornado is going to be amazing in Mythic Plus. Master Shadow definitely is going to be one that's going to be valuable in single target, and it kind of fits the theme of the spec. So again, I have nothing but love for this spec, for the way that it's been set up. It's one of the better designed specs, I believe, especially in its base form, without the talents really included. And when you add the talents in, it just adds a bunch of layers of interesting ways of thinking about this spec for both Mythic Plus and for rating. So again, a lot of love for this spec. So questions. What do you think about Sub? What do you think about the different talent layout? What do you hope comes into this coming soon talent? I'm kind of interested to see what other people might think, especially people who play Rogue. Again, I am not a Rogue player by any stretch of the imagination. So what would you think would come in, be valuable here in the coming soon? Now that I've done all three Rogue specs, again, what Rogue spec do you like the most? Again, I'm going to do a summary Rogue video here in a little bit, in a couple of days, to kind of summarize my thoughts on the Rogue class as a whole. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Sub? How does it compare to the other ones? Will you be playing it in BfA? What do you think the talent is going to be? If you like what I had to say, you agree with what I had to say, leave me a like. If you disliked it, give me a downvote. Put your comments as well. I'd love to hear what you think are going to be the talents people take. Feel free to sub. Again, I'm going to be doing a class video for every class in BfA, revisiting some if major changes happen as well. I'm also doing a giant series of thought videos on my channel where I basically talk about a bunch of different thoughts of changes in Battle for Azeroth. So for example, I have a video on War Mode, my thoughts on War Mode, which again is the PvP talent system for BfA. I got a video on personal loot, which is a big controversy recently. I got a video on secondary stats, as I mentioned previously. So again, check those out. I have a lot of videos where just kind of me chatting about different topics. Again, I love to get some discussion going on those. So again, hope to see you in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.